Welcome back. Today we're going to shoot a Steelhead Fly. When I put out our request for new ideas, quite a few of them asked to do some Steelhead stuff. And since last week we shot a kind of a Steelhead show. We did a breakfast with Kelly, so we did an egg and a worm, which I'm going to take a lot of heat for. And so, but one of the questions was, and a lot of people actually asked in, do a Steelhead Fly, a regular Steelhead Fly. And so I'm going to do, I did this fly in various different, styles, I guess. But the original one was a woolly bugger that I did. And I was just looking for a really kind of a pretty fly, but a little bit more dressed than a regular woolly bugger. And because I got my start really in this whole business as a steelhead guide. But I grew up in the Great Lakes, and we mostly nymph fish, we mostly egg fish. That's why I did the egg first last week. But I also was really fortunate to fish a lot of BC with some of the best anglers in the world. Mike Craig, one of my best friends, Harry Lemire, and guys like that. But one time I was on the Kispiox, and I was down below, I can't remember, I think I was down by Kispiox, by the town, but at any rate, I saw this kid catch a really big fish. It was a legit 20, and I was telling, it was after, we weren't fishing, Harry and I weren't fishing, but Harry and I were at camp, and I told him about it, and it was funny because he always called me young man, and he said, well, did you see what he caught it on? And I said, yeah, he caught it on a popsicle. And man, the guy kind of leans in on me and he says, that's not a fly, it's a damn lure. And I'm like, oh, okay, roger that, boss. And so he goes, what were you fishing? Pulls me out on the carpet. And I said, and I was fishing a little kind of, I think it was a black woolly sculpin. And he goes, now that's a fly. That looks like something that's in the river. And I kind of took that to heart because Harry Lemire was one of the greatest steelhead and tires in the world. I mean, he was legendary. And he tied a lot of full dress stuff, but he also tied a lot of very plain looking flies. And so I fished a lot of the traditional stuff back home and out in BC. And I never did as well with them as I did on the stuff that was a little bit more earth tony. So this fly is an adaptation of the very first one. And I've caught lots of fish all over. I've caught a lot of fish in BC with this, a lot of fish in tons in the Great Lakes, and a variation of this or this form. But the thing about this one is the body, and that's what's so sexy about it, and it swims just right. As you can see in here, it's very earth tone. It's going to be this color feather, and the wing was really nice and pretty before I tied this last week, and I dropped it and I ran my chair over it, and then I stepped on it earlier and the wing broke up a little bit. But the thing about all these flies, anytime you do a feather wing set, I don't care what you do or how you try, that thing is going to get, as soon as you cast it and you catch a fish, it's going to break up. So that just happens. And so I'll go through the materials kind of quickly. I'm going to use the 78 or 7989 Tiemco on this one. I use a lot of Alec Jackson hooks. There's so much to the hook that is about the shape and the appeal to your eye. Some of it has to do with how it's going to swim, but for the most part, it's appeal to your eye. And this is a nice, it's an easy, attainable hook, and so I've used that forever. I'm going to use some pheasant tail, rump right in here for the tail. And for the little bumps right here, I have no idea what they're called. They're just sexy as hell looking. I'm going to use ostrich. When I first did this, I did not use ostrich. I used pine squirrel black, and I put it in a dubbing loop because I was just trying to make it more complicated just for the fun of it, for no other reason. It's really sexy. I've got a fly that I tie. It's a caddis. I don't remember which caddis we did, but it's a diving caddis or it's a sunk caddis. And we show how to do those little tiny dubbing loops. It's just fun. And then so as you go forward, we're going to have the ostrich herl, and then we're going to have this for the body. And this is, I think, the uniqueness to it. What that is barred mottled turkey marabou. This stuff here, unfortunately, you can't buy it. And so I bought this. This was Spirit River. Man, it was back in the 80s. And most of it looks like this. It's kind of crappy looking feathers, really. It doesn't have much use for the most part, especially these here. They really don't have much use. You have to pull it off the side. But what I'm looking for, and this is the perfect feather here, is this one right here. And we're going to spin that, and it's going to give us this beautiful body. Now, I told you can't get that stuff. And so what I did when I was running out of it before I bought the mother load of it, is I would take a tan feather marabou like this, and then I would put a brown one beside it, just kind of mix them in and wrap it. And I got virtually the same body. This tan brown barred marabou is absolutely perfect. I mean, it gives you this really, you're going to cover it up with stuff. So it just gives you that underbody. And so then for the hackle down, we're going to use, this is light ginger Coq de Leon, and it's the light Pardo. It is so beautiful in there. I never used this in the old days. I didn't have it. And so this thing is just so, the speckles in these things, I mean, most tyers know about this stuff. It's become super popular. And I'm just going to pick one here. And then for the last feather, it's going to come off the edge right here. And when you look underneath here, you usually, I don't know if you can see that or not, but you'll see there's some darker ones. Maybe look better over here, but I'll show you. It's just right in here. They're just kind of darker. And I just dig around and find it. It's all an accent anyway. And so for the wing, it's going to be bronze mallard. We did a thing about 3 weeks ago on this and how to get your own off a mallard, because in reality you're going to get a match set on a duck. You're going to get a match set in here, but in reality you're going to get 2 feathers if you're lucky that are really usable for wing sets this size. And so it really behooves you to, I mean, that's a really nice package right there. You might get 4 feathers out of that, no more, even though they're all there. So let's move along. On this hook, I'm going to, this is a standard, classic Steelhead Fly hook. And the hook the eye is a bend around, right? So it's bent back around, and we're going to have to fill some as we go. And I forgot to mention that my thread, I'm going to be using 12-aught Semperfly and this orange. I have talked about that 100 times that on my nymphs, I always use this burgundy color thread, right? 6-aught Danville. And I did it on this fly forever. I like this color. I like things to match. So when we go in here, we're going to have to cover this. We're going to cover this up. And I'm going to do 2 or 3 layers to get that to happen. I'm going to start right dead center. Where'd my wax go? I'm going to start this. I'm going to wax this thread. This waxed or thread isn't waxed. So I'm going to start it, just holds better. Dead center right there. And I'm going to, as I go forward, you really have to be aware of where that is so your head is, the right shape. And I've got it, but I know I'm going to have about, you can see right here, like a little bit of the hook to stick forward. And so I'm going to leave room. I know what I'm going to have to do. You just have to tie a few of them to get used to where things start and stop. But in actuality, because of that's a wraparound like that, it's easier to just look at this hook than it is with a regular bare hook. Because when you get right here, wow, I got to make sure things are in control. And so just nice even wraps coming back. And when you get back here, I like that thread. I've talked about this many, many times. I always use my hook as a gauge. And I've said it on a lot of videos, I like to have my hook, or my thread, end at the gouge where the barb comes up. And I've said it on a lot of those videos, except for on low dress steelhead flies, which this is. It's not a heavy dress, and it's a personal thing, and it's just probably what I saw first. I mean, there's no rules. You can, however it works for you. But I like that to hold right there. Everything goes on from that point forward. So I grabbed a feather off of this rump of that pheasant. I just grabbed a brown one, and it's already pulled out. And it's off the, up at the top up here. it's, you know, way up here. There's just a few brown ones in it. I like the color of it. I also like to use the same area, the shoulder of the, if you've got any jungle cock, there's a beautiful red feather in there. You can take a golden pheasant crest, or golden pheasant skin, I mean, and you can pull the same feathers. You know, there's a lot of red ones in there. I just always did this with the natural earth tone. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this feather and I'm just going to roll it around just a little bit in my finger. Mostly, I'm doing that so I can get, I want them, they're not always all as brown. On the bottom side, they're not quite as brown as they are on the top. And this helps me get a little bit of that just rolling around. And it lets me see whether they're pretty much the same length. And on this one, I'm going to do, and this is personal. It's just whatever you like. I like the looks of it to be the length of about the body, which is going to be from where the return on the hook is about here to there. And I'm just going to look it over, take a look and see if it's what you like. And so I'm just going to, right there, I'm going to do a simple pinch wrap. Third one, I go left to right. Now I'm going to look this over. Just roll it around a little bit. And then we're going to run this nice even wraps. And just keep coming forward. Roll it down here. And you see what I'm trying to do here? I'm going to fill this gap. We're not going to have that create a problem for us. So I'm going to cut that off right on the side of it. Right tight to the eye. And we'll do this and then just work backwards. I did that all with the wrong glasses on. You should be so happy for Kelly that I almost didn't. There, I can see again. So that thing rolled up a little bit. I couldn't see it when I had my glasses on. I'm gonna continuously go through this, and so that I went up, I came back, and you see my thread is hanging right there. It's just at the tip of that. Now I'm gonna take a Ostrich Herl. And just kind of stroke these back and look for anything that's screwy on these things. Sometimes they'll have little nicks in them and you get halfway up there and it's like breaks off. But it's just, this is a really pretty accent in here. I'm going to cut that off and I'm just going to strip a little bit of it off the side. And I'm going to move forward just a little bit and tie that in here. And I'm going to wrap this, I go back and forth with this because I have trouble with Ostrich Herl. It doesn't behave well for me, and it tends to cover itself up like it's doing right there. Oops, fell off just a little bit. And I'm going to come back, and I want that to hang just in front, and then I'll get my, damn it, I didn't say that. It scared me. I nicked that feather. I'm going to go backwards and just do it again. Don't be afraid to go backwards. I'm doing this without the rotary. And now I'll come forward and I'll get my build right now. Keep your hands nice and close. I get my build on the way back instead on the way forward. I used to do that from the back, come forward, and every time I get there, I'd be covering it up. Now I'm going to do the same thing. Just continuously covering this up, building my taper. And then I'm going to take my rib. I don't know if I showed my rib. I'm using Uni French oval, and it's a small, and so usually I use wire. There's no usually. Sometimes I use wire, sometimes I don't. I just like it because it's a little more traditional. And it's a little messy right here right now. We're going to clean this all up on our way back. So I'm going to put this in here right on the side of the eye. I'm going to draw it back. I've got 2 turns. I'm going to draw it back right there, and then just clean it up. Nice even wraps coming back. You know, a little bit of that fuzzy stuff in there. I'm not too worried about it. I'd rather build that. You can cut that stuff out of there if you want. It's not, you're going to cover it up. And so I'm going to have, this is going to be my counter rib. And I like that. I just come back really tight, just seeing where everything is. You can see right here we hung, and so now we're just slightly forward. Now we're going to take this Marabou Plume, and usually, you know, I've talked about this, I hardly ever use these side bars for anything. Don't get rid of it on the, if you've got these, because these feathers are so, you just can't find them. And so I'm going to stroke this feather up, and this one's like the best I've ever seen. There's nothing hanging out of here. So I'm just getting a good look at it, and I'm going to tie it on the bottom, just away from me, just a little bit, and I'm going to pull this down, and it's on my side because I'm going to roll away from me, right? And I'm on my side a little bit low, and I'm going to pull this feather. I've got, pretty good tension on my thread. Not so much I'm going to pull those fibers. I'm going to pull them and pull them and pull them like this until they're about even right there. But what I'm really looking for is that these feathers on the side don't start falling out. So I want it to be one piece of body. And that's it right there. And I saw those first ones. And now I'm going to get my second chance to clean things up. I'm just going to come forward, just trying to keep them kind of consistent, covering things up. And I'm doing the same thing. See, we're going to end right there, right on the edge, right? And we should pretty much have our bumps gone now. You've got a nice clean underbody, right? So, if you want to, I'll go on and off with this rotary. I will do it all without it. So now I'm going to take this feather and just stand it up and I usually take all this off, but like I said, these feathers are they're like gold. I can't get them, so I save these pieces. If you got a couple down there, don't worry about it. These here, don't worry about a few stragglers. You're always going to have a couple. And so it's easier for me to do this with the rotary. Just especially that first one. I like to see that first, even if you don't have a rotary and you're just going to wrap it, make sure to just do something to see the backside. But as you can see, we're going to get this tiger's eye, the most sexy body that's ever been put on a fly. I'm going to drop that. I'm going to hook it here. I hold it on the bottom, and I'm going to let it unfold. I'm going to have that on the bottom so I don't build any more bulk right there. I'm going to come back here a little ways anyway to put my, just here. I'm right at where I'm right at the return of the hook. So right now you can see right there's the return of the hook, and I went forward on it. I'm just going to clean that up just a little bit. And so I'm going to come back into it because I still have to put in the hackle, still have to put in the next bump, and I want to make sure now I'm leaving room. So you see I'm going to have a little bit bigger bump here, whatever this, I don't even know what I call that thing. And then I've got to run my hackle, and I got to put this other accent, and I'm going to put a hackle and put a wing on it. So onward. So I'm going to take this is a Coq de Leon. I just picked one that was a little bit smaller. I'm going to tie it in shiny side to me. The shiny side's the convex side. It should be to your right, and because it's convex, it's shaped like this. And so when I wrap that back, I want the feather to reach around, kind of marry around the hook, the body. Just looks better. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to just trim it back. We're going to get about 5 turns. I'm going to cut that off relatively short. I'm going to tie it in. I've got just enough stem sticking out here. I'm going to unwrap it just a little bit. I'm going to come in, and all I'm worried, I tie my hackles in on the back, on the bottom, and I do a figure 8 around it, and then I just it sets that feather in its rotation. I missed my stem there, and I'm getting a little bit of a build right there I don't like. Just want to make sure. Now I've got it. I'll catch that in a second. All right, but what I want you to see is that this feather is on its rotation, and the shiny side's to the right. Now I'm going to take one turn here, and then I'm just going to, and this is what I wanted you to see in this body. There's a couple stragglers there. See how sexy that body is? Look at it, it's all fuzzy. In the early days, a lot of them I didn't cover it because it just killed me to cover it because it's so pretty. Tucked and let go of my hackle. So we got one there. Where's those hackle pliers? It's kind of a short hackle. I got one turn. Make sure, watch that hackle. I want one complete turn right there. Now watch it and just make sure the shiny side stays to the right. Nice even turns backwards. Come here. That wasn't an even turn. Beautiful. Now we're going to come around the top, catch that hackle, let go, and then just nice even turns forward. It's not an even turn, Kelly. 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess we're going to get 6. Not too worried about it. Catch your tinsel. Now just go right back over. Nice tight turns, getting a little bit of a build right there. I don't want any more than that. That's pushing it actually. It's kind of sloppy looking. Go away. Take your tip. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to kind of, this is getting a little sloppy for me. I'm going to clean that up. Just kind of start building my taper. Still got 3 things to go on here. And I'm going to kind of manhandle this stuff. Just don't be afraid to, I want it to lay back. And it's such a soft body. I don't like to pull tight into the body because I love that fuzziness of the underbody. And it's pretty. I just kind of mess around with it. Play with it right there. Now, I'm going to put on a second black hump here. Somebody wants to tell me what I'm supposed to call that. I would love to know. And we're just going to go right back. And this is where going back and forth will really help you because from the front back, it will fall off anything. And it just fell a little bit. It's just an accent. I don't even know where it came from. It just looks pretty to me. I just liked it. I've got my wax on my thread. I'm a junkie for Davey McFeel. God, the guy is so clean. And he runs his wax on his finger. And I tried doing that. And I'm going to go for it. I'm going to build this taper a little bit, making sure I don't go past where I want that to end. So now I'm going to start getting a little bit more cognizant of what I'm doing with my thread so I'm clean. But I was saying I put this on the wrong finger. I had it over here and I was doing it. I didn't realize that, I guess I was watching upside down or backwards. I don't know. But this is really a handy trick. You just drop a little bit of wax. And when you do that, the wax actually acts like glue. It just stops that thread from slipping. So now I'm going to take this other coq de leon, which I showed you earlier. I take these from the bottom down here, and they're just you can see they're a little bit browner. You get right in here, see how they're underside, see how they're just a little bit darker? And so I pulled this one of these down here that were the darkest ones I could find. And that's all up to your eye. Now, you can do these traditionally. You can tie it in butt first and wrap it. I don't want a lot. I'm going to tie it in tip first, kind of the traditional, how, traditionally you do this stuff. I do it both ways. I mean, I break a lot of those rules. I mean, the difference in a lot of my flies, I mean, I started out as a guide and I was tied for my store and all that stuff, but a lot of my stuff was function and speed because I was filling boxes to guide out of. And so a lot of the stuff that is tradition to me took longer. I just didn't do it. So, but I'm going to do this one in a kind of a traditional method. I'm going to come in on the side. I'm going to tie this in with a little bit of the hackle caught. You can see the stem down there. Forward. I made sure I waxed my thread, and that holds this hackle so much better than if you don't. It's amazing. Come back here. I'm going to take the feather, and I need it the same thing. I need it on the side. And all I want, you see, it's how easy. You're just going to stroke these feathers back so that they lay all one direction. Going to go around and you just kind of stroke them back. I got one trapped. That was a bad set. There we go. Just going to fold them back like this so they're all going the same direction. Try not to trap any. Come around, same thing. Just keep stroking them back. And look as you go. I don't want a huge buildup here. I'm probably going to get 3 turns before and it's just hold it on the backside, pick it up, make sure you're not trapping anything. just kind of, I don't know, every one I do just kind of, the feather density is pretty even on these. I'm going to come around one more. I'm going to catch it on this side, wrap it around your thread, pull it, and just kind of take a peek. Get one more in there. It's a little rough looking. Come off of there. Ooh. Stroke that back. Just clean it up here. I'm going to go backward, back forward. Just kind of keep building your tapers as you go. I don't want a big head on this, but I also don't want to have I just got a little bit of that stem in there I don't like. I don't want to tie onto a gob of anything right there. So there. So there's it's laying back, and it's, right now, a lot of people won't stop right now. They won't go, if you're looking at this fly right now and you don't like the looks of that hackle, I mean, I haven't tied that. I've tied 2 or 3 of these this week. I haven't tied one probably in 25 years, this particular fly. And I'm looking at it, and if I don't like something, it's real easy to back off and just take your hackle off and go. That's the thing that people never do with their flies. They want it done. So, welcome back. We had a little break right there. We seems that every human being on the planet decided to come in and see us. And we were shooting and shooting, trying to we had 2 minutes left to go. We had to abort the mission. It was Friday night, so we had to, other things took over. So, got on our duds again, and we're back. So we were just about to set the wings on this streamer, and we had to stop, like I said. And so I'm going to show you how to set these things. I was telling Jeremy, I got thinking about it afterwards, because these things will fight you, right? And I love Davey McPhee. I watch that guy all the time. There's a bunch of cats out there that I just, Craven and him and Clark. I mean, I'm a junkie for these videos for these guys. And I'm telling you, I've fought these things my whole life. And even when this fly was made originally, I don't use these wings much, because they're the most beautiful thing if you can do them right, which I probably won't. But I think I told Jeremy the last time I put a set of these on was probably before the internet. But I think they're the most gorgeous. And I watch McPhee do these things. That guy could take roadkill. He could take a feather that no one, and he just goes, and he puts them on. They're perfect, right? They're not that tough if you get used to it. You gotta let it happen. My problem with them is that they just weren't, you put them on and you cast them around for a while, you get one fish, and they're all over the place. And I started substituting those things for, I used hair wings a lot. I used rolled. I wouldn't bother with the wings, but I just didn't do that many of the traditional sets. But you really should do it. It's just like a traditional wet fly wing. I think they're one of the prettiest flies on earth. I love them. They fish all the time. But I'll show you how to set these things right now. And so I'm going to do, one thing I never did in the old days was double stacking. I see that's getting done a lot. And so I'm going to take this, I'm just going to show you how to set these things up. I mean, finding, if I can ever get one of these without dropping it. If I can, when I do these, I have to have pretty good feather. I mean, like I said, I watch Davey and he just picks it in whenever. It just doesn't seem to matter. I have to have a pretty good feather, and it kind of bugs me. I had a set here that I pulled off. I was just going to go, and they're different colors, right? And you just see it. It just kind of bugged me that they were different colors down at the bottom. So you really, we did that thing about the mallard. When you pluck the sets off, you get a pretty good match, and so that'll help. But all you do is kind of take the feather and just stand it up a little bit like this. Just pull it off to the side, and just see if it's, and you're going to do a match set, and then just pull it off the edge like this. And if you pull it off the edge, it'll kind of keep this base stuff on there, the stem right off the rachis there. Just pull it off, and you'll have a match set like that. And it's real easy. So I'm going to set, but I've been watching a lot of these guys set them. I never did these. I did them one at a time, And we didn't have tutorials like we do now. And so I've been watching these guys, how they do their sets, and it's so, and I watch especially McField. Damn, he does double sets in his hands. Pow. Oh, that'll be all right. And I'm like, oh my God, it's perfect every time. But here's how you do it. So I'm going to set them, and you got to remember that the feather's going to get folded over. And for me, I like to set them upside down like this. You may not be able to see it so easy. And these are different length wings, right? But they're the closest. And I'm going to do a double set like they do. I'm just not going to do them at the same time. But I'm going to set these back to back so that they're the same length. And it doesn't matter that they're here because I'm going to fold them. I just want the tips to be the same length when I set them over top the hook. So I get them kind of, they'll match up to each other, and they'll actually lock into each other a little bit, especially if you straighten those up before you pull them off. So I'm just going to get them, and I was watching Davey again, the same video. I just loved it. But he had this quote where he says, he's got that accent, and he says, the more you mess with the mallard, the more you mess with the bronze, the more it'll mess with you. So the more you play with this, the things will get worse. So just set them up top here, get them up right on top, and usually if you're a right-hand tire, put them in your right hand and just decide how long you want them and get them in here like that. And I'm going to go halfway in the tail and then get right close to the hook and just fold them over. Real easy, just like that. And then just come over with a nice soft touch and just look at it, right? Just make sure that they're kind of close. And again, the more you do these, the easier it'll be. Like I said, I haven't done one since and that one's not right. I didn't like the way that's set on that side. I just backed off the pressure. I don't like it. It's not setting how I want it. Just got to get him over here a little bit. Come here. And like I said, this is part of the reason I quit doing them, is that I had those different lengths. So I'm going to fold it just a little bit, keep it close to the hook, meaning that the bottoms are there, right against the hook. Just come in and get a nice clean, and what you're looking for is this tent wing right on the top. So there it is, and just finish it off. It'll set there, and I used the two that were different colors on the bottom because I'm going to try to double stack this. That's not a great set, it'll do. And so, like I said, I never thought about that when I was doing them before. And then I'm using Davey's trick of I don't like that wax on there. I just messed that up just a little bit. Like I said, it's been since man, it's got to be in the early 80s since I did one of these. But I love it. I mean, I just absolutely, it's fighting the hell out of me. I absolutely love it because it'll take me, I'll do 10 of these and you'll get it down, it'll come back and everything will be great. So I'm going to use that other set that I made. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm just setting them up to see if they're the right lengths. And that one's a little bigger than the other one. I'm going to just, for time's sake, so I'm going to put that on there. I'm going to come over I have to tie sideways here so I can't kind of lean in here. This one's a little thicker, maybe twice, 2 or 3. So see, I got the right length and kind of get them right tight to each other. Like Davey says, the more you mess with the bronze, the more it'll mess with you. And I wanted this one just a little bit longer than the first one. I'm going to put them on here, just set them, and I get a nice tight wing. Once you see it's there, just go ahead and finish it. And what does Davey say? Trim off the rubbish, or something like that. I'm telling you, I think, I really truly think that that head's a little bit long because I messed with it so much, but it'll do. So I'm just gonna, I forgot to do my wax. I was saying that I love these tutorials because I've been tying for 50 years, more than that, 55 years. This head's just a little too big for me, but it's gonna have to do because we're not going for day 3 or 5 on this shoot. Just trying to clean that up. I like a little bit shorter head. Thing's fighting me. Didn't do. By the way, whoever wrote in and said, "Hey Kelly, Davey puts his wax on his right hand," I had that wrong. I had it on my left hand. I kept trying to go like this as left. Anyway, we'll get this finished out here. And I'm just going to cover that up with that. And I used 12-aught on this. I was thinking about that later. That head's kind of sloppy. I used 12-aught on this thing, and then I manhandled the hell out of that wing. But she'll come back to normal. So that's and it's just a tent. You're trying to get a tent-style wing out of it. You might want to clean your head up a little better than I did. But like I was saying, I used 6-aught thread a lot on these, and I thought it was a little easier. This 12-aught tended to move around like I was doing there when I did my heads, but you'll get that down. I mean, like I said, I haven't done one of these. I did the one right before that too. I don't know when it was. It's been like 25 years because I kind of got out of that style of wing because I didn't like the way it would break up on me, because they look so gorgeous when they're sitting here like this. They're just so sexy looking. But after you catch a fish, it's like poof. And there was a style back then, I don't remember who did it, but they would take the stuff and roll it in their hands and put it on there. It didn't look as good, but it's how it looked after you fished it. I think I did that way. But I'm going to sit and do these things for weeks. I'll probably start doing them because now I'm addicted to it because I keep watching these videos. And I'll figure out some way to do it. But anyway, it's a really fun fly. It's a super functional fly. Even when it breaks up and it doesn't look like it does, it still hunts. It's a really good steelhead, especially good in the spring for the steelhead. It did go with it all the time, but I don't know. There's something about it as the water started warming up, and I did really well with this fly. Hope you liked it. Hope it helps you out.